Hi, Xiaorui. So let's take a look at this new essay you sent us. Here's what you wrote. Okay. This is about shop hours. Let's see what you said. Retail stores in both developed and developing countries have extended opening hours considerably in the last decade. Some activists argue that this is a negative development and shops should limit their business hours with an S. I strongly disagree with this viewpoint. This essay will use examples from Alibaba, a Chinese internet company, and the research results, there's usually more than one result, so I'm going to put an S at the end, from the University of Edinburgh to demonstrate points and prove arguments. Okay. You know what? It's all fine, except the one thing that I want you to do is I want you to combine these two sentences, all right? Let me show you how you can do it. Some activists argue that this is a negative development and shops should limit their business hours. However, I strongly disagree with this viewpoint. All right, that's all you need to do. And then suddenly you see you've got this advanced grammatical structure in your sentence. It's a longer sentence. It's a little more impressive. And it's just not so choppy, because I kind of feel like you have a lot of choppy little sentences here. So that's my suggestion, all right? Let's move on. On one hand, there is considerable evidence showing that we don't have a long business hour, but we have long business hours. So, showing that long business hours affect the quality of life. We don't want life quality. The quality of life of employees in the retail industry. This is largely because longer business hours require longer working hours. Okay, that's true. Consequently, there is less free time left for employees to relax or recharge. In addition, the additional workload, usually one word, also increases the stress level, which might affect employees' mental health. The employees' mental health in the long term. All right, tell me about that. Add a little more here. However, since the modern society has become internet savvy, get rid of "and" and get rid of society, there are multiple, with an E, solutions available. For example, Alibaba recently, get rid of the "had," delivered several unmanned convenience shops in China, which require limited labor force. If more unmanned shops S, were introduced, the stress result from long working hours would be massively reduced. Okay, let's keep going. On the other hand, although the extension of business hours S might affect a minority group of people, there is no apostrophe here. Its economic benefit cannot be overstated. The reason behind this is twofold. Twofold is one word, and there's no S. Firstly, the extended business hours will create more job opportunities and reduce unemployment, especially for tourist countries in South Europe. Secondly, more purchases with an S will be made during longer hours, which will largely increase productivity and furthermore contribute to the economic booming. All right, explain that to me. How will it increase the productivity? And how do we know that it will continue? I don't care for this word, economic booming. Just how about the economic progress, maybe instead? A recent study from the University of Edinburgh, there should be an H, shows that the GDP in countries with longer shop operation hours outrate the ones with shorter hours by 0.5%. Not much of a percentage, is it really? Consistent with this line of thinking is that the economy no, the economy improves with the extension of retail business hours, plural. Where's your S? Thus, it is possible to state beyond doubt the extension of sales hours S is an optimization for retail behavior and will benefit the economy in the long term. I don't know what that means, optimization for retail behavior. It sounds very nice, but I'm not really clear on what it means. From the arguments and examples given, I firmly believe that the extension of business hours S for shops is a positive development. It is predicted that most of the shops in the future will operate, with no D, longer than nowadays. Okay. This part was okay. I had a concern here about where you started talking about Alibaba. I didn't really know how that was relevant. I didn't know. I felt like you were answering a different question here. because you start talking about internet savvy and multiple situations, and then you start talking about Alibaba. And I felt like, okay, well, maybe Xiaorui is treating this like a problem and solution essay, because that's kind of how you structure this paragraph. Like, okay, yeah, here's the problem, and then, hey, here's Alibaba as our solution. So I wasn't really a huge fan of that. I can't say that I really support this, what you did here. This paragraph, though, was fine. You really keep having problems with plurals, when to use plurals, when to add an S, when not to add an S. There were some grammatical things that I really, really, really want you to take care of, because there are a lot of basic things happening, and these basic errors are more damaging to your grammatical range and accuracy score than if you made a mistake with advanced grammar. So really I want you to be aware of this, and I want you to be careful and try to correct some of these mistakes, okay? All right, I want to move on. So let's look now at your task 1 here. Okay, so rainfall is the topic. The diagram compares the rainfall in 2018 among England, Scotland, and Wales. The data fluctuated between 20 and 130 within this year. England, of all 3 countries, had the most stable rainfall data. In contrast, the other 2 countries experienced dramatic rainfall change over the 12-month period. Okay, I'm assuming that you mean this to be your overview, and while it's okay, it was a little too detail-oriented for me. What do I mean? I mean that in our overview, we don't use data. All you really had to say here was this: England had the most stable rainfall among the 3 countries. So basically, you probably should have gotten rid of this piece of information here, because once you start including numbers in your overview, it ceases to be an overview, and it really feels far more like a data paragraph. The rest of the information you selected was appropriate, it was fine, and I agree with it, okay? So let's move on. It is noticeable that England never had less than 75 ml of rainfall, whereas both Scotland and Wales experienced over 3 months of dry period with less than 50 ml rain. The rainfall reached its peak in England and Scotland in September and October, respectively. However, during the same period, Wales experienced dry weather with no more than 50 ml rainfall. The only month when all 3 areas had more than 100 ml rainfall was July, which is also the rainfall peak in Wales. The rain in Scotland fluctuated dramatically for the first half year. It first significantly dropped from 120 ml to 20 ml from January to February, then soared from the lowest point of the year to the peak in the next month with a 100 ml increase. The figure then dropped again in April and reached the second lowest point at the beginning of May. Okay, here's the good news. The good news is that your grammar was pretty good. Your grammar was good, your vocabulary was good, so all of that was good. No problems. Great. My problem here is with the information you chose to talk about and the way you separated your paragraphs. It just was not logical to me. You spent this entire paragraph talking about Scotland, and I just don't understand the logic of that. Okay? And not only that, so you've got these 3 paragraphs here, okay? You've got introduction and overview. And then you've got this paragraph where you talk about all 3 countries. And then here you've got one entire paragraph talking about the first 6 months in Scotland. I just didn't understand why you chose to do that. It made no sense to me. So let's talk about what's going on in a chart like this, okay? I realize that looking at this, it's very overwhelming because there's a ton of fluctuation, and quite honestly, there are 36 different pieces of information. So you're probably thinking, oh my goodness, where do I start? Okay, that's logical. The first thing that you need to remember is that this is chronological, and so it's kind of telling you the story of rain over a year. So when you hear a story, what do you want to know? Well, the first thing you want to know is the beginning, and then you of course want to know the end. And after those points, what else do you want to know? You want to know the important parts of the story in the middle. So, what are they? obviously we've talked about these 3 points here. We've talked about these 3 points here. So what else? Well, let's look at Scotland. Okay, since it was the highest here. For Scotland, you want to talk about the highest, you want to talk about the peaks. So you're going to mention March, and you're going to mention this thing happening here in October. The other thing that you're going to mention for sure is February. Okay, so what does that give us? That gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points to talk about. All right, and that's it for Scotland. Let's look at England. All right, for England, you're going to talk about obviously the beginning, which we already said, the beginning and the end, so that's 2 points there. And now England has 2 peaks, actually 3 peaks, 1, 2, 3, which is also the last month. And it's got that low point here. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of data. If you look at Wales, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it's got this nice plateau that you can talk about here that lasts for 3 months. So again, 5 different things. So these are the things you have to talk about. And the way you separate your paragraphs really, I guess it really varies. I mean, you could do it in a lot of different ways. But these, for me, are the really important points of this particular graph. Okay? I don't understand at all why you decided to talk about Scotland for an entire paragraph, especially for the first 6 months. I just did not get it. So I'm trying to, with this explanation, help you to realize how to look at these charts, how to kind of comprehend them and pull them apart and see what's important and what's not. Those are the important parts in this particular chart, okay? So I hope that helps. I'd like to see how you rewrite this based on my suggestions, okay? Give it a try. I'm really curious to see it, okay? So with that, that's it. Good luck, and I'll look forward to your next set of essays, all right? I'll be waiting for them.